Okay. Hi, I'm Callum. I play guitar and do vocals in Mòine.
I'm Tom and I do drums in Mòine and I also do some backing vocals on some of the tracks.
So it's a Gaelic language black metal band um, based in Glasgow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of kind of naturey influences and stuff. Atmospheric.
We'll get into that. We'll get into
We'll get
that.
into that.
Get into that. Well, I mean, if there was ever a chance to talk about it, it would be with the first proper question, which is about how the band came together, sort of the background, stuff like that.
Yeah. Here we go.
Well, I think we'll go way back to like what was it 2018, 2019? One of the two.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Tom and I met in a group chat on Instagram,
Yeah.
and kind of just good pals right away.
Yeah, it just kind of got along.
And it kept, just kept getting along. And then Tom moved to Scotland, and we went to Carlton Studios. That's it. Kind of the rest is history, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
It took
Yeah.
a good minute for us to kind of start writing songs
It
for
did.
Mòine.
Yeah,
Like at first we were just playing covers in all kind of genres. We'd do we were doing Magruder grind songs and we were doing like folk and shit and like slowcore and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Just kind of because we'd always obviously like black metal and that, so just kind of
Yeah, played a lot
black
of
metal thing.
Dark Throne covers and a bit of Mayhem and
Yeah.
stuff. But in terms of what like we listened to most, especially at the time that we started like writing, we were both listening to like an unhealthy amount of black metal. Like,
Yeah,
probably could be medically classified as an addiction, but you
yeah.
know, it's what you do, isn't it? So
That's how it goes.
so I know that you have. Well, I say I know, like I've listened to it a lot. Is EP demo the right? I don't know what like the right term.
Either or.
yeah.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's definitely a demo. It's quite rough around the edges,
Mhm.
but we just got in the studio. I say
We
the
did.
studio. It was an attic
Yeah, it
in
was.
Brighton.
Yeah.
Very DIY. What was it? Two mics for the instruments? Three?
Yeah, just a couple mics. We did one take for every song except the last one, I think. I think we did two for that
Yeah,
one.
we tried that one again. We totally fucked up the first
Yeah.
time, but and then we'd recorded the instruments live together, and then dubbed the vocals over. And again, that was all kind of one take, two take, baby.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah,
I'd say
yeah,
demo. We put a bit of effort into like the cover and stuff, but recording quality wise and everything is a demo 100%.
it was almost just recording, like, because we've written the songs, we're really happy with where those songs are at, most of them at least, and we just wanted to get something out and
Yeah.
like have something to like kind of mark this is where things are starting. You know, we've played shows for like probably a year at
year?
that point. Yeah,
Year at that point.
about a year at that point. And we're like, we just need to get something out so that we have something out.
Yeah. Because
but-
pretty much every show, at least one person would come up to you and be like, "Oh, where can I listen to you guys? You got anything out?" And we'd always just be like, "Nah, coming soon, whatever."
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
started to feel like a piss take at some point. Like you
Yeah.
can't go a year of saying we'll release something soon and no.
You know, it's big things soon, right? It's the classic
yeah.
kind of trope.
So
we did have
literally
Oh.
we got the masters back from the guy who recorded it, and I did some mixing on that at the end, and
it was literally only the vocals we changed a tiny bit.
and we put it out the same night that we got
Yeah.
the original masters back from the guy because we just wanted to get it out. We
Yeah.
didn't really like in hindsight, the mixing that I did fucking is so bad. It's god awful. It's so
You know,
bad.
we didn't really know what we were doing, but
Yeah, I'm not
even
a
at the
sound engineer,
time, we're
you know?
not. We were under no like. We knew that the songs would be recorded again, most likely. Maybe not all of them. Definitely a couple. You know, you might,
And-
if you've listened to it, you can probably tell by the quality which ones would do again. But yeah, for like a
Yeah.
full length or maybe a longer form, more polished EP, there's definitely plans to rehash some of that material.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do something, and we did it. And
you know,
yeah.
Just have something to show people when they come to a gig and they like the music and no leave them hanging.
There was a time where we dubbed tapes like recorded on my phone, just a rehearsal of like 2 tracks.
Yeah.
And we dubbed one of the tracks on one side of the tape and the other on the other, all hand dubbed, like straight from my phone.
Is that weed? I was up till 4 a.m. doing that, motherfucker.
I hand wrote all the labels, and I definitely dubbed at least a couple of them.
You got me though.
And also it was my phone, so.
True.
But yeah, that we had that. Doesn't sound great. Doesn't sound terrible. It's better than I'd expect for that.
Honestly, arguably better sound quality than the actual recording that we did.
Definitely a much more like cult necro raw production, but it's. I mean, we still have that if anyone's interested. But
I'm gonna cut us off here because I feel like we've been on this question for 10 minutes. So
you're right.
Fair enough. Take however long you want. But talking about, I know earlier you sort of talked about starting to write stuff after doing covers for a while. I wanted to talk a bit about how you go about writing tracks, because obviously, like, I'm not super well versed in black metal. So I was interested in the writing and the decision to do it in Gaelic.
So I'll go on a bit about the.
First off, it's Gaelic.
Gaelic, yeah.
Gaelic's Irish.
Yeah.
A lot of people get that wrong. It's okay.
I'll let Callum handle the language situation because that's all him pretty much. I'll talk a bit about the music. The way we usually kind of do it is because we live together. We'll just sit in the flat, and Callum will just be jamming a bit, and I'll kind of cherry pick ideas I like and try and make a riff out of that, or if he's already got a riff, try and add something to that, add some variations or whatever. Like, we'll just be sitting and it'll be, like da 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 whatever. Like, why don't you add like a higher note there and then go on to a lower note or something? It's really, I don't know. I always feel like a fraud when we're writing stuff because it feels so I don't want to say inorganic because it's very organic the way it comes up. But it just feels like stringing together a sequence of notes. I never feel like I've written a song in that regard.
Well, I think
that's maybe a bit, it's a bit hyperbolic that, but that's pretty much how it happens. Like we just sit and jam, I guess.
Yeah. It's
kind of hard to say jam when it's just one guitar, but we just sit and play guitar a wee bit. And try and bounce off each other, get some ideas.
A lot of what I really like about black metal, and especially black metal songwriting, is it sounds kind of silly, but I like how repetitive black metal can be.
Yeah.
I like how much it can have this central theme, and the variations on that theme can take you somewhere. And I think a lot of our songs definitely have a kind of central thread running through them. Then it's about figuring out how we can create
keep it interesting as well.
Keep it interesting,
like,
exactly, and also have that thread go all the way through while still having changes in pace and emotion and how kind of the energy of the song.
Yeah. For example, on the first song on the demo EP, whatever you want to call it. Kira Part 1, the second riff there, right after the intro, is like a, single note tremolo picked lead melody basically. And then the riff after is just the same kind of chords, but played as chords, which in itself is the same melody more or less, but just changing it from the single note kind of tremolo picking to the chords, and I play a completely different beat on the drums and everything. That's sort of what we like about black metal is, you can play the same melody for 3 minutes straight and have it still be interesting, at least in our opinion. Hopefully that's the same case, opinions differ in that regard, but at least for me, keep it interesting by adding some variations, by adding, especially with the drums, adding variations.
Even even just little
changing.
grace notes and stuff can
Yeah.
make such a huge difference.
And
There's a song we're working on just now where one of the riffs is very drony, but there's these like really slight melodic differences in the repetitions that I think, and I hope other people think keeps it really interesting.
I always say this to people that aren't into metal, especially not black metal and stuff. That's like very harsh and very distorted. Almost part of the beauty of black metal is not being able to hear every single note and every single thing clearly. It's sort of when you have that bass melody, that bass thing going on in the back of your head, then you start to imagine all these little variations, all these little notes that you feel like you can sort of pick up on, sort of the harmonics and whatnot, but you're not really sure, is that actually part of the song? Is that just the strings ringing out, or being influenced by the amp or whatever? And it's that sort of, you're almost imagining your own music as you're listening to the songs a wee bit. Like that's obviously, not the case for everything as well. More so for the very lo-fi atmospheric stuff. But that is also what we're mainly. I don't want to say interested in. We love we love the stupid brain dead black metal as well.
Be a bit nicer to a bath there, but I know what you're thinking. I think there's such a stark difference in kind of how I enjoy something like Paysage d'Hiver, where it's so drony and ambient, and it's just about picking out these little differences, as opposed to something like Immortal. Immortal's the classic example I go to for the kind of really strong, headstrong, aggressive
black metal.
Metal,
the focus
black
is very
exactly.
much on metal. If you look at Immortal, you can draw a very straight line back to thrash and back to all of that 100%. Stuff, speed metal, Motorhead and whatnot. If you look at Paysage d'Hiver, it's easier to compare that to noise and to ambient music than to like Motorhead, in my opinion at least,
Same's true with something like, even something like Emperor, especially 2000's Emperor, where the production is cleaner, so you're losing out on that, almost the mysticism that's kind of inherent in the production, which just sounds so stupid now that I'm hearing it out loud. But I think that's a big part of what draws people to black metal is the kind of mystery, and it is kind of inherent in the sound. I really like that.
It also kind of draws back to what I think is one of the big reasons why black metal has such a strong following and stuff is, even though it always retains that core sound, it's kind of an infamous genre for being very samey and very boring in that regard. Like, a lot of critics of black metal would be like, oh, every band sounds the same, right? But at the same time, it's the same core, but you can add so much to black metal. I don't know of a single other genre that you can mix with that many things. You've got post-punk black metal, you've got dark wave black metal, you've got trip hop black metal, you've got classical black metal, you've got name one genre that hasn't been mixed with black metal. I don't think it exists. You
can even go for one band like Mayhem, right? They're obviously one of the earliest, most notorious black metal bands. Even they've got a trip hop album. It's really bad.
Yeah,
but they did it.
God awful, mind you. But they did it. And I think that's the sort of one of the main strengths of black metal is being able to do that much with it, be that creative with it, but still keep the same sort of core idea in the riffs and in the writing, and still have it feel black metal. Like, you can listen to all of those bands and you'll know it's black metal, even though it might have all these different sounds and jazz and whatnot. It's still black metal. Nobody's gonna deny that. Yeah. And yeah. I don't even remember what the question was, going to be honest.
I think it was about how we write songs.
Yeah. So is there anything to say about the decision to have it be like Gaelic?
I'll let you get to that.
Yeah. I went through Gaelic medium education, so I went to a Gaelic school in Glasgow. But I don't come from a Gaelic background. None of my family speak Gaelic. They're all exclusively Anglophones. A couple of cousins who speak German. Yeah. It's an English-speaking family.
Yeah.
But I learned Gaelic and learned it all the way through primary school. All my classes were in Gaelic and the same in high school. And I feel quite passionate about Gaelic as a language and the kind of culture that's associated with that, Scottish culture, and it really upsets me to see how, I mean, historically, like British colonialism and imperialism eroded it, and how the Gaels were treated. And I think that Gaelic, in a way, obviously it needs to be preserved as a language, but I think it can also be quite a good metaphor for a lot of other things that are going on in the world, like the way that a lot of people are treated, and the way that like we treat the environment as well. There's this huge drive for like preservation. Like, say for example, in the 19th century when Gaelic was outlawed, they still had parting. The king still came up from England, and the queen still came up from England and wanted to see that. It's
It
yeah,
also ties in with the name of the band a bit, because
yeah,
for those that don't know, Mòine is the Gaelic word for peat,
Yeah.
yeah.
which
As
is
in from a bog,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
which is
it's
you go ahead, yeah.
yeah. So it's decaying plants in a bog, very carbon dense, used as fuel. And I mean, it's dark and it's black, which is kind of what initially drew us to it. But it
A bit more
also,
the connection to the Gaelic.
yeah, of course, and the Gaels when they had no land for the sheep, when they had no land that they could use for anything, they harvested the peat bogs on the crofts,
Yeah.
and I
And
think that
it's part of the land, it's part of nature.
it's part of the land, it's part of
Because
the nature.
a big focus for us in the music is nature. We've
Yeah,
never, black metal historically is very like Satanism and all that stuff. We don't really care for that.
we
Um,
wrote we wrote one song.
where
It was a little bit like that, and we
yeah,
played it at one show, and it just did not feel right. It's not like I mean, I'm
not us.
not religious, but I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not what we're into. It's not why we're into black metal. Much more interested in like the cultural implications and ecological stuff. That being said, cultural implications. I think it's really important when, obviously, like we care a lot about preserving Gaelic. Not nationalist in
No.
that, and the dodgy, the bad sense. It's very much about preserving Gaelic for
Yeah.
everyone and Scottish culture, for everyone, and also how Gaelic can kind of mirror other marginalised communities. Obviously, I don't want to compare to. It's not about who suffered more or anything like that,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of parallels that can be drawn, and I think it can be useful to use the history of one marginalised people to bring attention to other things that are happening today, like Palestine and the Congo.
I'll just quickly say, I don't speak out myself. I speak a couple sentences in that, but no fluency of any sort. For me, I mean, there's also I'm very interested in linguistics in that. There's some interest there, but I've basically just kind of tagged along with Callum's idea because I wanted to play black metal. I wanted to play it with him, and he was very passionate about doing it in Gaelic, and it's a cause that I definitely support, even though there's no real personal connection to it. I mean, there sort of is now. Honestly, it's sort of grown into a connection for me just because I've been involved with it for quite some time now
Yeah.
and doing things with it. But yeah, there was no initial connection. I don't have any Gaelic ancestry
Or even any Scottish ancestry.
yeah.
So obvious. So like, if you know anything, maybe you know that most of the shows I've been to, well, pretty much all of the shows I've been to, have just been like emo scrams and hardcore shows. What is it like performing as a black metal band in Scotland?
Um, it's weird. There's not really a big scene for it in Scotland, and a lot of the we just don't really fit into the scene that there is. I'd say most of the black metal stuff and just metal stuff in general is more your sort of, as we were saying earlier, you've got your Paysage Divers and you've got your Immortals,
Yeah.
and there's a divide there. And I'd say we're closer to the Paysage Divers side, and the metal scene in Scotland is very much closer to the Immortal side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we've found ourselves. At least our first show was like a noise show, as was our second.
And
That
grindcore and that stuff.
and grindcore.
More the sort of DIY punk and noise and just kind of basement show scene more
Yeah.
so than the metal scene.
The only real black metal shows that are like truly black metal shows we've played, were supporting Wayfarer, alongside the band that was touring with them. Not Woe, Woad.
And we played a show with Dawn Raid and some other
That one
local
was
bands.
interesting because the Dawn Raid show, I'd say that we were the smallest or maybe second smallest band on the bill, but because we were the only band that was like musically similar to Dawn Raid, we played just before them, and
And it was like
it
a
was
kind of
it was a kind of
post-hardcore
mathcore,
band.
a post-hardcore band and a kind of mathcore beatdown band. It was Oka from I believe from Glasgow, and
And
Kakihara from Dundee, who played at that one. So it's quite an interesting mixed bill, but still, obviously, with it being Dawn Raid, it did have the primary draw in the audience was a lot of goths, a lot of black metal heads.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's quite a distinctly different energy at kind of metal shows to emo and hardcore. It's just a different culture.
And I guess it's just due to sort of the lack of black metal scene. Like we mainly go to hardcore shows and that as well.
Yeah,
Just because there's not as much, and I think I don't want to say we identify more with the hardcore crowd, but it's just more of the scene that we're involved in, and I wish there was a bit more overlap, especially from the black metal side there. You see some overlap with death metal guys, just because you have the chugs
both
and stuff,
sides.
you know. But with black metal, like a lot of black metal guys hate hardcore, and a lot of hardcore guys hate black metal, and I think it's a bit of a shame because it's all music, and for the most part, I think it's all trying to forward the same values and the same culture, and that
I think this new kind of burgeoning post-pandemic concert goer who like kind of forged their music taste around a TikTok algorithm where they're just as likely to listen to, like they listen to Minor Threat and then they listen to Deftones and My Bloody Valentine, and now they're just kind of looking to see everything that they have at their fingertips. There's a lot more emo and like hardcore, but I think the thing about black metal is that there's a really strong subcultural element to it. Even people who are not that into the music often appreciate all the kind of mythology surrounding it. So you see a lot of people wearing like corpse paint to hardcore shows, but then there's no black metal shows happening.
Yeah.
Which I think's quite interesting because a lot of black metal bands tend to skew older in terms of who's playing in the bands, and they tend to be not
who's attending the shows.
Yeah, oh for sure, 100%.
Way different demographic compared to emo and hardcore shows. Like probably twice the average age, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And also, what I have to say is there's a big disconnect there in terms of sort of the style of show. Because with death metal and your thrash metal stuff, you still kind of you mosh. You know, it's a different kind of moshing from hardcore, obviously. But there's movement and stuff. You don't move at a black metal show. You're standing arms crossed, and you're nodding. You know. And you might headbang if there's a bit of a riff with a bit of grit to it, but a lot of old school black metal guys, I don't want to say old, but it just means sort of mindset wise, very pure black metal guys will just hate anything that has any movement in it.
The Death Like Silence, which was kind of like the original black metal label, their motto was no core, no mosh, no trends, no fun. Which is like,
and that's part of the appeal, you know. I'm not saying you should be moshing to black metal. It's not what it's there for.
I get a little bit annoyed when people. I mean, I'm all for people moshing to black metal, but it has to be like a very. It's got to be right. And
we're not the mosh police. No, we don't care. I think that leads to. Sorry, I think that leads to sort of. Especially with black metal, more so than other types of metal, there not being a lot of crossover with other genres, just because it is that very sort of different vibe at shows and different energy.
And there's a huge like culture within the music itself of being insular, of being a really kind of standalone culture and standalone style of music, which has just kind of been in it since the start and is a big part of the appeal for a lot of people.
Yeah. What? So like, moving away from like the larger, what is it like to be a black metal band performing? What, just in general, as a band, is the most stressful part of performing for you?
I don't mean to sound cocky or anything. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not that stressed at gigs ever.
Yeah,
Fair
it's like
enough.
I
No,
I'll
I
never
don't
get
know.
stressed after. There's been a
Fair.
couple of times where we've been like, oh, have we played well? Getting our head about it, but
I'm
it's really
like first two shows were quite stressful just because it was
yeah,
new
Yeah.
and you weren't sure. But like at this point, I'm quite confident in us, and
I think I
I think
really
that you need a bit of confidence. I think you need to sort
mhm.
of be sure that what you've got is actually interesting people, and that you what you've got is okay. You don't need to be doing anything else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the last couple of shows we've played, I don't think I've really been stressed about anything. It's just kind of excited to be able to play shows and to be introducing people to our music and that, and just enjoying the
and
night.
also like we're playing music that we've written that we like. We enjoy the music we've made. We
Yeah.
enjoy playing it, and it, a big part of music is a very physical experience a lot of the time, and playing it is quite cathartic. And
Mm.
For sure.
yeah, it's not like some it can get a bit anxious, but that's just kind of normal nerves and stuff. It's not really stress. A big part of that I'd say is that there's only two of us. Like
Mm.
a lot of the stress with that kind of thing can come from the logistics. You've got two guitarists, each with a pedal board and an amp, and then you've got a bassist with like a couple of pedals and maybe even like a bass cab, and then the drummer's got everything. It's just like
And and
guitar, drums.
also because we live together and we're best pals. There's no pressure from either of us really, and
Mm.
there's also like practice and rehearsal wise and stuff. We just kind of do it whenever we want. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
never really that sort of pressure, like, oh, we need to get everybody together and schedule all these dates and whatnot. It's very just due to the nature of it being a two-man band. I feel like it's very relaxed. So yeah, I
yeah.
don't really ever feel stressed that again about anything.
Yeah.
I
Just
think obviously if it comes time to like tour or like we're booking shows and stuff,
yeah,
that'll be stressful.
I
But
feel like it's important to mention that we've only ever played in Glasgow a maximum of like 20 minutes away from where we live, and we've never put
well,
on our own show. So
the
I don't know.
only the only time I'd say it was properly stressful is there was that really really bad storm earlier this year
Mm.
when all
Yeah,
the public transport got cancelled, and we were
yeah.
playing on the like Saturday night or the Sunday night of that weekend, kind of when the storm was at its peak. Even then, like
Was
we were a
this
bit stressed about nobody coming, but
mm. Was this the
yeah,
start of the year, like
Yeah, it was
January?
in January.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
earlier
that
this
was
year.
the same week that I was supposed to have folk come down for my birthday, but
Yeah,
nobody was there. Yeah, yeah,
it was just impossible. I remember that actually. It's just
It was a
like
shame because it was friends of ours that put that show on,
mm.
and I know for a fact that
Energy
what
Dome.
what they got in ticket wise, money wise, didn't even cover like
Yeah.
the venue probably, maybe barely covered the venue, and it was just a shame because I know it would have been a good show, and one of the artists had to drop out as well. There was going to be an interview with Andy from Despise, and he
Yeah,
couldn't make
that's
it as
right.
well due to the storm. And yeah, it was just a bit of a shame. But again, it wasn't really anybody's. Definitely wasn't anybody's fault.
No,
And
100%.
there
And
was
like,
nothing you
and
can do. It was just make the most of it at that point and play a good show
Mm.
and at least entertain the like five people that showed up.
I was really glad to see that Energy Dome were able to kind of keep going. So I was a bit worried about the like financial impact of that and stuff, and even the like kind of morale effect that would
Yeah,
have.
the mental impact for sure.
Yeah, but
That was I
they've
think
totally hit the
the
ground
third
running.
show, the third show of theirs they put on, and then only having I'd say a max of 10 paying customers at that show due to the circumstances.
Mm.
It's definitely a mental blow to you. Um, but yeah, no, I'm
hmm
they definitely bounced back from that in great fashion. Happy for them.
So I guess I'll go with the inverse of that question. What is the thing that you enjoy the most about performing?
Hard to say.
Hmm.
I mean, I just love playing music. Like, it's just fun to play um in front of people and just to play in general. And
Mm-hmm.
and I guess just seeing people headbanging and visibly enjoying the music.
Yeah.
The stereotypical metal stank face, you know, um, that you see, and that's just that's all I want is just for people to enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah.
So just that,
Uh,
just seeing the reactions of people getting pats on the back after the show, like, oh, that was great, whatever. Um, yeah, that's it. It's just
and it just feels good,
Yeah.
to like have this thing that you've worked on that's been such a personal thing where, well, just us two have,
Hmm.
and maybe like a couple of friends have like showed the odd
yeah.
demo to or whatever. It's been just us, and then we get to share that and we get to see the reaction. It's really, really cool. Even if it's negative, I mean, not negative. People are really like, oh, yeah, that was shit. But
Even if people don't
it's
really like it,
it's it's nice to know.
Yeah.
It's good.
it's just good to see people engaging with any of your thing in any way.
Hmm.
Just
I'm having some technical difficulties. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Okay.
I'll bridge the gap in the meantime.
Thank you.
Um, but yeah, I guess maybe if there's any examples or anything, there was also I should mention getting some feedback from the bands you're playing with,
Hmm.
especially if they're bands that you've liked yourself and that you've kind of looked up to and
Yeah.
listened to. It was especially with Wayfair because on that tour that was last year, in April, I think.
Hmm.
They had a different drummer. Their drummer couldn't make it, and they had the drummer from Kralis
All right.
filling in for them. I believe his name's called Lev, and that was because I do like Wayfair a lot, and they're a great band, but Kralis is a bit of another level.
Mm.
Um, and that was just very cool talking to him and having him come up to you after the show and saying, well, you guys play good music and whatnot. And that's also, and I don't even think because it does come off a bit narcissistically, obviously, because it's like, people telling me I'm great is what I really love, but I don't
Hmm.
really even think it's great. It's just, having people acknowledge what you're doing and acknowledge that you're doing something is a great feeling.
Yeah.
And again, just playing music for the fun of playing music. I mean, the first show we played, we didn't get paid. There was
Hmm.
barely any people there, and we were one of I think 8 bands. I don't think anybody came up to us after that show and said, you guys did a great job, and we didn't get any money. Like I said, it was
Hmm.
still an incredible time just because it was our first time ever showing people these songs and being able to play them for people. And no matter what the feedback was, we were just happy to be there at that point.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for that show we were just talking about in January, where there was the big storm and basically nobody could show up. It was still a good time. We were chatting to the other bands and we were just able to play music and you know, uh,
Yeah.
especially for us living in a sort of town flat and that without like an acoustic drum kit and everything. I'm just happy whenever I get to play the drums, to be honest.
Yeah,
Alan's happy whenever you can turn the fucking amp up.
the Carlsborough E drums aren't great.
Nah,
Um,
shout out though.
so,
Colin's great drums.
well, they in another band I'm in, the guitarist has a Carlsborough amp,
Actual.
and that is one of the best sounding solid state amps I've ever heard.
Really?
Like total like PV 150 style, huge, heavy, like dense. Yeah,
Yeah.
no time for gear nerding.
There
But
you go.
if you ever see a Carlsborough like 250 watt head, don't let that shit slip through your fingers. They're
Well,
like
there you
gold
go.
dust.
Okay. I'm gonna let you guys. I guess geek out is maybe the word.
So
This is this question I love asking other like musicians and stuff. What are bands and artists in Scotland right now that you have been enjoying?
In Scotland?
Well,
Yeah.
in Scotland.
No matter what genre or anything.
Well.
I mean, it doesn't really need to be said, but the whole Northern Unrest scene and all those bands.
And all bands adjacent to it, like the JCHC stuff as well. All those bands are super cool.
100%.
Yeah. Demonstration of Power and Hellbound, especially for me. Yeah, let's do it.
Demonstration of Power, Hellbound, and
Nothing But Enemies.
All the Northern Unrest bands.
And like Wreaking Joy.
Shout out.
JCC, Wreaking Joy, Nice Jaw Fan Club. They're all great.
And then, like, in terms of black metal in Scotland at the moment, there's a couple of new bands that are really cool. There's a band called Marai. They're really cool. They did a Mutilation cover, which is like always going to win points. Doesn't really matter what it's like.
Did play a gig with him after
Tom did fill in drums, so little kind of.
And then
disclosure.
Band called Branagh. Also
really cool.
Mars.
Really lovely guys. There's
a lot more metal focused black metal.
Very Emperor, Immortal.
Dissection is the number one
influence. The big one. Not politically. They're not politically influenced by Dissection. Kind of card carrying communists.
Mention real quick that both of us are very left wing, and
yeah.
All the people we're talking about are also very left wing because we would not be associating with anybody who was
There's a band kind of Glasgow and I think Ayrshire based band called Graz Strigoi. They're really cool. Really cool like Atmo Black. They were supporting Portrayal of Guilt early this year or last year, and I missed them. But I found out about them through that, and they're killer.
Then Tyrannus, I mean, they're kind of a staple already. They're not very new at this point, but they play very good kind of black and death thrash stuff. They just did a show with a Bath a couple of weeks ago as well.
There's a new black and death metal band called Unmaking, featuring members of Franz Ferdinand, Anxiety, and I don't know if you know the like solo pop act Apostille. Apostille plays guitar in that band.
If you ever wanted to hear the Franz Ferdinand drummer playing it really fucking
the original drummer.
Yeah,
the guy who does stuff with Onat.
Yes, So they're playing. I think it's with. I want to say they're called like Chewing Glass Collective or something. There's an American like math grind band that are playing the Hug and Pine either in August or September, maybe October. Unmaking, I think, have been supported as announced the support for that, and that's one definitely not to miss. Super cool band.
I mean, I have to give a shout out because he's done so much for us. Bobby King, he's in so many bands.
Well, Wheelchair is the one that they made Grindcore Stardom, but right now he's doing Stairmaster. The silliest Grindcore band over here.
Is Villagianti still going on?
Villagianti's still going. I think Hunks of Funk is unfortunately it
might be done. Yeah.
I think if they ever play again, it'll be zombie Hunks of Funk. They'll be back from the dead. But
one of his old bands also was called Insufferable. That's also
one of the first local hardcore shows I went to. Really kind of like really made an impact on me was Insufferable. Adjust, who were this really cool like kind of Scottish beatdowny hardcore like kind of like metal punk vibe. Band, and then Revulsion. It was Revulsion's record release show.
Also have to mention Pals in Hardstare and Iniquitous Savagery. Those bands. And also Endless Swarm is sick. Not pals with them, but they are really fucking sick.
They're really good. Bathed in Sin.
Power Violence.
Bathed in Sin.
New band, Bathed in Sin.
If you like black metal, if that's why you're listening to this, you're gonna like them. So like Mourning style, kind of early 2000s black and hardcore, like the infamous Gehenna, if you know them. Not Norwegian or Swedish, I can't remember. Gehenna.
Not the actual black metal band Gehenna, but
the infamous Gehenna, or sometimes known in hardcore circles as Gehenna.
Yeah.
Kind of that vibe, really pissed off, dark, moshy hardcore.
That's the thing in Glasgow and in Scotland in general. There's so many good bands.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to mention all of them, you know?
Test of Patience. I have to mention Test of Patience.
Fucking love Test of Patience.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, they've put on shows and stuff for us as well, you know.
I still haven't had a chance to see them. I'm so pissed.
And all the people in the emo scene, you know,
yeah, but
they're all lovely people.
Yeah.
We like all of them, you know. Yeah. There's a lot of great bands. I mean, Scotland's really one of the places to be right now, I think, for DIY music and for underground music across so many things.
A little shout out for a Life Coach. I've not seen Life Coach, but Life Coach makes like kind of electronica with poetry over it. It's really cool. I got the tape.
I don't even know them.
I think he might be like Dumfries, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. Kind of slowcore influenced, a little bit like Casio Tone for the Painfully Alone. That kind of silly electronica, a little bit sad vibe. Really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions. So, second to last is, like, active or inactive, what is one band that's like a dream band to be on a bill with? Active or inactive? Could be inactive for like 3 decades at this point, for all I care.
It's Weakling for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say if we had to choose a number one influence, it would be Weakling for Mòine.
Yeah, Weakling. So, like, for me, it's between Weakling, Passage d'Hiver, and Wolves in the Throne Room, who, at least for what I'm listening to most, are basically doing Weakling worship. So
I mean, the demos in the first album are Weakling worship. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So yeah, I mean, it just has to be Weakling for me personally, which is never ever gonna happen because they're never reforming. That's
no chance. Absolutely not.
The guy said it a million times that he will never reform that band. He has no interest in it. So sadly, it's not gonna happen. I mean, should we do an active one as well?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves in the Throne Room would be incredible. Something Death Heaven. I'd say Death Heaven's interesting because I think it's slightly more attainable. I spoke to George after not the last time they played Glasgow, but the time before. And it seemed interesting. Yeah. Panopticon's a big one. We've met Austin from Panopticon quite a few times. Really lovely guy.
Self-proclaimed
I think it's
fan of the band.
Self-proclaimed fan of the band. And you know, he makes good music, so trust him. But
yeah. I guess the thing
with black metal is a lot of my favorite black metal artists. I've never played live.
And also, like all of the big black metal bands where it sort of doesn't feel attainable to play with them aren't really the kind of bands we want to play with. Because I'd say like Wolves and Death Heaven and Panopticon are some of the biggest active ones we'd like to play with. I honestly feel like all of that's realistic. I don't think it's that much of a stretch that in a couple of years' time we could play a show with them. So yeah. I guess that's the nice part about.
I think that speaks a lot to the culture of black metal. It's really similar with hardcore as well, where like people who are interested in it are the only people who are interested in it. There's no, like, how many terrible indie rock bands dream of playing with Arctic Monkeys? It's a lot, but there's a lot more Arctic Monkeys fans than there are people who dream of playing with Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, with black metal, the crowds are so much smaller, and the pools of bands that want to play with them are so much smaller. It's just this like.
Our friends in Bronnach, they're playing with Psy in August.
Legendary bands. The kind of band, like, I remember listening to, I can't remember what the album's called, but it has, I think the track's called Alethea, The cover's like a woman watering some bang flowers. I remember listening to that record when it came out, kind of one of the first weirder black metal albums I listened to. And I was like, there's no way these guys will ever even play in the UK. That's insane. And now our friends, it's their second show and they're supporting them. You know, like black metal,
Yeah.
as much as it doesn't have the.
I mean, for us with Wayfarer and Dawn Raid as well. Dawn Raid, I remember listening to them in like 2019.
Yeah.
When that, what is it called again? Unlawful Assembly, I think that album. When that came out, I don't know the year exactly. I might be wrong on that, but when that came out, I remember listening to that, and that was our third show ever, I think, supporting them. And
Yeah.
then Wayfarer, banned from the US with members of Krallice and all that on the touring version, mind you. I know that was only a album. I see you.
But members of Stormkeep and Blood Incantation, like.
So that's just kind of there's a lot smaller of a pool, and I think that's what makes it so attainable and so sort of realistic. And that's also a great inspiration and a great motivation for us, seeing what other bands around us are doing and what we've already achieved in only a year and a half now of playing shows.
And I think a lot of that kind of comes down to how you measure success, because it's not.
We've never once thought of financial success when thinking about Mòine. It's not
even even in terms
of, we're not rich or anything. We'd like a bit of money from the stuff that we do, but at the end of the day, it's not really about
it's
the
a
money.
passion project. It's about
If we wanted money from music, we would not be playing black metal. We'd be playing indie rock or something. We'd be doing something that you can get on BBC Six Radio or whatever and get a wee bit of
You never know. Marianne Hobbs' Sun live session.
I'm just saying, it's never really been about that. It's been about doing what you're passionate about and doing what you like and attaining goals just for yourself that you feel good about. I remember when we got that gig with Wayfarer, and I was able to tell people we're playing with an American band, and that was just such a cool thing to say, because it was like that is a quantifiable sort of thing, an American band on tour in the UK, and we're playing
even
with them. Doesn't really matter if you know them. I could tell that to my gran, and she'd be like, "Oh, American, wow," you know what I mean?
But, even that's not what's most important. Personally, it's just that we're doing it, and it's a culture that we love and appreciate, and we're contributing to it, and being part of something bigger. I think part of what's really important to me.
It's definitely not the most important. I just mean, it's about your personal goals.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, I guess, just being content with what you're doing and not. At least for us, I mean, if you're obviously trying to pursue music as a career, then that's not doable. But for us, it's just a passion project, and every little goal or little thing that we attain is a positive. I don't really see any negatives in it.
If pursuing music as a career was my goal, I wouldn't be playing black metal. And if I was I think pursuing a career in black metal is the kind of thing that happens to you. I don't think it's the kind of thing you make happen.
It's also.
I don't think it happens to many people.
Considering the case for 10 bands on the planet, you know what I mean?
Even our your favorite black metal band runs a pyramid scheme out of his house in Switzerland. I'm definitely not being specific about that one. If you look deep enough, you find it.
Do not look into Vintev's day job.
The time cube.
Oh, the time cube.
To restore your cow's chakras.
Professional Reiki master. Yeah, Paysage d'Hiver is like a chakra aligner for his day job.
Which is cool as fuck, for the record.
But it is cool, but then it also isn't cool because he also does business chakra aligning. You can get.
It's a bit wild.
He can visit your business and align the business chakras to give it better revenues for the next year.
Profitability for the quarter.
And that's where I kind of lose.
Yeah.
I don't know. For your own self, you can do whatever you want, but at that point, I don't know. Reiki capitalism is a bit That's a bit too far in my opinion, but I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Just a quick anecdote.
Okay, I guess I'll wrap it up with the most generic question, but I ask everyone this. I know earlier you were talking about working on songs and stuff. Is there anything recording-wise coming at some point soon, maybe?
Let's not say soon, but it's coming. Like
Okay.
we're working on it. We're writing material. I think we're writing material we're a lot happier with.
Yeah.
Um,
We've got some really good stuff written, and
yeah,
I'm sure there'll be more really good stuff to be written soon.
Tom's been away for a little while, and I think we've both kind of talked about it. And when Tom gets back, we're gonna hit the ground running.
We've been focusing a bit on other projects, because
We're both
after
in
releasing that
bands.
demo, we just kind of felt like we need a bit of a break from Mòine.
Yeah.
But we are writing. We've got, yeah, like I said, we've got some stuff written. We're in the process of writing new songs right now. No time frame or anything. No guarantees. But we do want to release something kind of full lengthy soon, just because it would be nice to have like an album out and
Yeah,
to
and
maybe play a
we
headline
have
tour or something.
yeah we have these ideas that we think are really cool and we want to get at because
For sure.
for me, like, black metal wasn't necessarily my like first musical love. Like
Definitely wasn't mine.
I was much more like I was into like post rock and shoegaze and stuff before, but like for the longest time, for the most amount, black metal has meant a lot to me, and it's been something I listen to a lot. And I've got a lot of ideas I want to get out and a lot
I
of
mean,
songs I want to sing and
like
play.
Mòine started from two guys loving black metal at the end of the day.
That's
Like,
what. That's all. If it's if it's always going to be about something, it's always going to be. It's always going to be about our love for the genre and the music, and our like real kind of need, like personal need to contribute to that.
yeah, for
And
sure,
be part of that.
100%.
Yeah.
We just like I always say it when I'm talking to people about genres and stuff and whatnot. That like for me, with death metal or with thrash or whatever, I love. There's death metal albums and thrash albums that I absolutely love, but it needs to be something special. It needs to be kind of something a cut above the green. For black metal, I just love
I
black
love the
metal.
grind.
You can play me the most bog standard shitty Bandcamp demo, and I'm gonna like it. It's not gonna be great, and I'm not gonna like love it or anything unless it is really good. But I'm gonna like it no matter what because, well, not no matter what, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I just like what it's made of. I like the core build up of the genre. I just love it, and I think the same thing goes for Callum.
I'd guess that I've listened to more thrash metal albums. Sorry, less thrash metal albums that I've liked than black metal albums that I've disliked. Am I thinking? Am I getting that the right way around?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like black metal a lot, and even when it's not very good, I still kind of like it. And sometimes when it's not very good, I really like it, and that's what's really embarrassing. But
Something going on up here when we hear the tremolo and guitar and the blast beats.
I don't know. I don't like warm weather. Like I like the cold. You know,
Yeah.
like
Cold weather,
It's-
cheese.
cheese.
You don't like cheese?
Oh, trees, not cheese. I was like, I'm vegan, man.
No, like
Trees, yeah, like the
things
forest.
on our album
Yeah,
cover and that.
yeah. I've got you. I love trees. TREES.
Yeah. That's how that's spelled, yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit longer. I was thinking TREES, but that's just me getting it all wrong.
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to everybody kind of having their thing in that way. Like, there's people who you can play them any techno song or whatever, and they're just gonna like how it sounds just because they like the four on the floor and they like it's just, and that's how it is for black metal with us. We just like the sound.
So to sum it up,
We're never gonna stop doing black metal. I think we're always
we're working on it. and we'll probably stop working on it. I don't know. We're dead. Like,
yeah.
I
don't see us ever turning our back on black metal.
No.
Just we like it too much for that.
It's such a big part of like.
We might
Which
be doing
sounds-
something else. We might start a new project at some point. We might be changing it up stylistically or whatever. But I think we're always going to be doing black metal.
We might be wearing gas masks and goats and goats eating goats. No war metal.
Nah, no. Well, maybe a bit. I was thinking more in the Marduk direction. I was like, nah.
Oh no.
You know.
They were not. I saw them live. They were not.
Yeah, Marduk. I mean, I don't really mind their studio stuff, but
anyway, we're working on it. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
It's coming Skate 4. We're working on it. It's coming sometime.
Probably in the next year.
Yeah. By a year today, we will have at least one more song in it. You can hold me to that.
I'm going to, because I've
been
waiting.
This is all him.
I've been waiting. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up.
In the meantime, we have t-shirts on Bandcamp.
Yeah, we do. We do have t-shirts on Bandcamp.
I have to mention that real quick.
I have one.
You can listen to the album for free. You can pirate it, but like
it's on the album's on all streaming, and you can get it on Bandcamp for free. If you want to pay something,
It's called Kiruk, which means twilight. I don't think I've never spoken about any of the lyrics anywhere, but ask me in person. I'll explain if I can remember them, but I'll try.
They're just about nature at the end of the day.
Yeah, awesome.
And